General Hospital spoilers reveal that one of the most disturbing and unexpected shocks currently unraveling in Port Charles involves the dark revelation that Jen Sidwell's growing web of manipulation may now be encroaching upon something far more terrifying than political bribery or custody battles. It may involve direct control over the life of Britt Westbourne. As more details slowly emerge behind the scenes, it's becoming increasingly apparent that Sidwell's schemes are no longer just about corrupting judges or blackmailing Sonny Corinthos, but rather expanding into sinister territory that now places Britt's very survival in question. For a man who has already demonstrated an unrelenting hunger for power, the possibility that he could be holding Britt's life in his hands reveals a disturbing new layer of his strategy, one that paints him not just as a master manipulator, but potentially as a silent executioner willing to eliminate any piece on the chessboard that no longer suits his vision. This revelation has begun to upend everything viewers thought they knew about the scope of Sidwell's plans, forcing everyone from Carly Spencer to Damian Spinelli to reassess the playing field they're trapped within. If Sidwell truly has a hand in something as sensitive and dangerous as Britt's health or whereabouts, then it becomes clear that this is no longer about revenge or leverage alone. This is about domination. About the calculated disintegration of lives to ensure his grip tightens over every corner of Port Charles. The ripple effects are already spreading, though few characters have yet realized the full magnitude of what's unfolding. For Sonny, already cornered by the false bribery evidence and estranged from Michael, the news that Sidwell may be endangering Britt adds a horrifying dimension to an already impossible situation. Sonny once navigated threats with confidence and cold efficiency, but the psychological warfare Sidwell is waging threatens to destabilize him in a way no rival mob boss or courtroom battle ever could. If Britt is being used as a hostage, whether physically, medically, or emotionally, it means Sidwell has effectively weaponized someone Sonny once fought to protect, someone closely tied to Jason Morgan, whose legacy still haunts the corridors of General Hospital and the people Sonny calls family. This isn't just about tactics anymore, it's personal, it's cruel, and it's designed to strike at Sonny's remaining humanity. Carly, ever perceptive, may soon begin to piece together that something is terribly wrong. She's already suspicious of how far Sidwell is willing to go, and if she uncovers even a hint of Britt's involvement or danger, she won't remain silent. Yet even she may find herself powerless in the face of Sidwell's reach. Especially if Britt's condition, whether it's a suppressed medical crisis or a staged disappearance, is being hidden under layers of fake records and institutional corruption that only someone with vast resources and dangerous alliances could orchestrate. If Carly does dig too deep, she too may become a liability in Sidwell's eyes, and this adds an additional layer of suspense. Who will he target next if his control over Britt begins to fray? The emotional weight of this potential truth will be unbearable for characters like Liesl Albrecht, whose love for Britt defies reason and borders on obsession. If Liesl discovers that Sidwell has had anything to do with threatening her daughter's well-being, there will be nothing left to restrain her fury. But therein lies another danger: Sidwell thrives in chaos. If Liesl lashes out, if Carly acts without proof, or if Sonny retaliates before the full picture is clear, Sidwell wins again. He is, after all, engineering confusion, turning allies against one another, and using fear as a tool to dismantle the moral fabric of the Corinthos circle. This new phase in Sidwell's arc also forces us to reconsider the long-term implications for Britt herself. If she's alive and under surveillance or being held somewhere, what does Sidwell want from her? Is she merely a hostage, or does she possess knowledge, secrets, or vulnerabilities that he intends to exploit? Perhaps her previous ties to Jason, to Spinelli, or to hospital systems in Port Charles contain hidden keys to something even larger, something Sidwell is positioning himself to seize. If Britt is incapacitated or in danger, it could serve as leverage not only over Sonny but over several factions in the city, and that makes her one of the most important, albeit silent, players in the current storm. Meanwhile, the rest of the city remains largely in the dark, continuing with their petty rivalries and political maneuverings, unaware that a new level of darkness has crept into their midst. This calculated expansion of Sidwell's empire, from judicial bribery to possibly life-endangering plots, represents not just a dramatic escalation in his plans, but a shift in tone for the entire narrative of General Hospital. The tension is no longer just about custody battles or mob power, it is about survival, trust, and whether the fragile relationships between these characters can withstand the psychological pressure Sidwell is exerting from the shadows. If Britt's life is truly hanging in the balance, and Sidwell holds the thread, then the entire landscape of Port Charles could be forever altered by a single, irreversible act. Even more unnerving is the sense that this is only the beginning. Sidwell has proven methodical, patient, and ruthlessly strategic. He doesn't reveal his full hand until it's too late for anyone to stop him. If Britt is the first, who will be next? Is he preparing a series of takedowns targeting the emotional anchors of Port Charles's most powerful figures? Will he fracture Sonny's loyalty base by undermining every personal relationship he relies upon? Could Britt's possible endangerment be a trial run for a much broader campaign of destruction? And in all of this, where is the hospital administration? Are they complicit, blind, or already infiltrated? The questions are mounting, and answers remain elusive. As these revelations begin to intertwine with the existing storyline, characters who have remained on the sidelines, like Maxie, Sam, Nina, and even Brooke Lynn, may soon find themselves drawn into the chaos, either through past ties to Britt or current alliances that put them in Sidwell's path. Spinelli, with his digital acumen and deep-rooted connections to both Britt and Sonny, could become a crucial figure in exposing Sidwell's operations, but doing so would put him directly in the line of fire. What we're witnessing is the collapse of boundaries, between personal and political, between love and leverage, between protection and possession. Sidwell is no longer satisfied with simply winning. He wants to dismantle his enemies emotionally, psychologically, and perhaps even physically, and he's proving remarkably adept at doing so while remaining just out of reach. His involvement in Britt's fate, whatever the exact nature, marks a turning point that cannot be undone. Port Charles is hurtling toward a reckoning, one where old alliances may no longer hold. And trust itself becomes the most dangerous liability of all. In the end, whether Britt lives, whether Sonny survives the storm, and whether Carly, Spinelli, or Liesel can uncover the truth in time may all depend on one fragile thing, the courage to confront the unimaginable. Because what Sidwell has done is more than a twist in a long-running saga, it is a declaration of war, and its first casualty may be a woman whose silence speaks louder than words. As the walls close in, and madness seeps into every corner of the canvas, fans must brace for a storyline that no one can predict, and one that may finally prove that even in a town built on secrets, some truths are too terrifying to remain hidden forever. Sonny Corinthos is facing one of the most psychologically devastating crises of his life. And it's not coming from a rival mob boss or a legal indictment, it's coming from within his own family. In a shocking new twist that threatens to unravel everything he holds dear, Sonny is discovering the horrifying reality that the recent legal advantages granted to his son, Michael Corinthos, in the custody battle may not have been blessings at all, but rather poison-tipped gifts strategically placed by Jen Sidwell. The truth is slowly surfacing that Sidwell, in his ever-expanding campaign of manipulation and control, orchestrated a secret bribe to the judge overseeing the case, disguising it as an effort by Sonny himself. This bribe allegedly tilted the court's decision in Michael's favor, allowing him to gain leverage in the fight for custody of Wiley and Amelia. But what initially appeared to be a win for Michael is now emerging as one of the darkest and most insidious traps ever laid in Port Charles, one that not only places Sonny at the center of a legal storm but threatens to destroy his relationship with his son once and for all. What makes this situation so uniquely terrifying is that Sonny is caught in a web that challenges every instinct he has. For decades, Sonny has ruled with power, intimidation, and loyalty. But no amount of street smarts or mob influence can protect him from the emotional minefield that Sidwell has laid. By covertly bribing the judge and making it appear as though Sonny did it, Sidwell has not only set Sonny up to take the fall for a serious federal crime but also weaponized the one thing Sonny has always cherished, his role as a father. If Michael finds out, or worse, believes, that Sonny used dirty money to influence the court's decision on his behalf, the damage could be irreversible. Michael, who has spent years trying to step out from under Sonny's shadow and forge his own path, would see this as the ultimate betrayal. And for Sonny, who has already been teetering on the edge of moral ambiguity for years, this could be the final push that causes everything to collapse. This scenario is more than a legal or familial complication, it's an emotional apocalypse. Sonny now lives with the chilling awareness that the very benefits Michael currently enjoys are tainted. And not by his own doing, but by someone else's calculated malice. Yet, even though Sonny didn't orchestrate the bribe, proving his innocence may be nearly impossible. Sidwell, ever the puppet master, has covered his tracks with surgical precision. The funds appear to come from sources linked to Sonny's legitimate businesses. The timing lines up perfectly with the trial. The motive, from the outside, is entirely believable. And the worst part is, Sonny's silence, if he chooses it, may be interpreted by Michael as guilt. While any effort to fight back may look like desperation or damage control. It's a masterclass in psychological warfare, and Sonny has become its most tragic student. The psychological impact on Sonny is profound. Every memory, every attempt to protect or mentor Michael, is now clouded by the looming fear that none of it will matter once the truth is exposed. Or worse, once Sidwell's version of the truth becomes the accepted narrative. This isn't just about being accused of wrongdoing, it's about being accused of manipulating the very family he swore to protect. Sonny is haunted by the idea that Michael, already emotionally distanced from him in recent years, might finally cut all ties, believing that his father exploited his vulnerability for personal gain. The image of Michael taking his children away, of never allowing Sonny near them again, plays over and over in his mind like a punishment he can't escape. Meanwhile, Sidwell continues to pull the strings from behind the curtain. By engineering this manipulation, he has thrown Sonny into a state of permanent uncertainty. Sonny no longer knows who to trust, what to say, or even how to move forward. Each day that passes without clarity is another day Michael grows closer to seeing his father as a threat rather than an ally. And that's precisely what Sidwell wants. He isn't just targeting Sonny's empire, he's targeting Sonny's soul, his identity, and the emotional bonds that give his life meaning. This is one of the most powerful shocks to hit Port Charles in years, not because of violence or scandal, but because of its deep emotional consequence. Sonny is beginning to unravel, not from bullets or betrayals, but from guilt and helplessness. The man who has always found a way out of impossible situations is now faced with the one thing he cannot fight his way through, the belief of his own child that he has been used, manipulated, and lied to. This sense of emotional paralysis is new to Sonny, and it terrifies him more than any mob war ever could. What makes the situation even worse is that there is no clear solution. If Sonny attempts to reveal the truth, he risks tipping Sidwell off, giving him time to cover his tracks even further or retaliate in more dangerous ways. If he remains quiet and waits for more evidence, he risks losing the window to stop Michael from turning against him. If he brings in someone like Spinelli or Carly to help, he risks dragging them into something that could put their freedom and safety at risk. And the clock is ticking, because once the truth about the bribe leaks out, public opinion will turn swiftly and viciously, leaving Sonny with no way to repair his image or salvage his family. Carly, who has always been Sonny's most complicated ally, may begin to suspect something is wrong, but even she may not be ready to believe the full extent of Sidwell's reach. And if she finds out the truth about the judge and the bribe, she'll be forced to choose between standing beside Sonny to clear his name or protecting Michael from the emotional devastation of knowing he's been used as a pawn in someone else's game. Dante may also find himself caught in the middle, torn between his role as a cop, his loyalty as a son, and his growing fear that his father may be hiding a truth too dangerous to reveal. As this plotline deepens, it becomes clear that Sonny is no longer at the center of a power struggle, he's at the center of an emotional collapse. What Sidwell has done is not just try to ruin Sonny professionally or criminally. He's tried to erase him from the lives of those he loves by poisoning their perception of him. It's a slow, cruel dismantling of trust, designed to isolate and emotionally paralyze its victim. And unless Sonny finds a way to expose the truth quickly, the damage may become permanent. In many ways, this may be the most dangerous adversary Sonny has ever faced, not because Sidwell has guns or power, but because he's attacking the one thing Sonny never thought could be used against him: the love of his family. And now, Sonny has to make a choice. Will he fight for his name, his son, and his truth, or will he let the narrative consume him and accept the role of the villain in his own story? This isn't just a storyline, it's a character reckoning. A test of everything Sonny stands for, and a challenge that may define the final chapter of his legacy in Port Charles. If he falls, it won't be from a bullet. It will be from heartbreak. And that, perhaps, is what makes this twist more dangerous than anything that has come before. Sonny Corinthos is spiraling into a terrifying new reality, one defined not just by chaos, but by an unmistakable descent into a kind of madness he can no longer outrun. What once were calculated decisions, firm alliances, and clear paths forward have now dissolved into a tangle of betrayal, manipulation, and emotional breakdowns that threaten to consume everything he's built. This is not just another complication in Sonny's long and storied life, it's a full-blown psychological earthquake. One of the most shocking developments now unfolding is the sheer insanity of the situation he's been thrust into, where every action he takes seems to backfire. And every silence he maintains is interpreted as guilt. He is trapped, not just by Jen Sidwell's brutal conspiracy, but by the inner storm that has begun to fracture his own identity. This is a new Sonny, a man whose power is eroding, whose instincts are faltering, and whose legacy now hangs by a thread. The current state of madness stems from a web of lies that continues to tighten around him, primarily revolving around the explosive revelation that Sidwell may have orchestrated a bribery scheme tied to Michael's custody battle. And while Sonny had no part in it, the fingerprints left behind point directly at him. The courts believe it. The evidence supports it. And worst of all, Michael may soon believe it too. What once was a plan to protect his family and ensure their safety has mutated into a nightmare where Sonny himself is the perceived threat. This transformation, from protector to possible betrayer, is not only shocking to those around him, but it's unraveling Sonny's mental state from the inside out. This is the kind of shift that doesn't just change the course of a man's life, it crushes his sense of reality. The very rules Sonny once lived by no longer apply. Loyalty has become a trap. Silence has become guilt. And action, no matter how righteous, brings only further destruction. He's now faced with a series of impossible choices. Remain silent and allow Sidwell's narrative to dominate, speak up and risk exposing Michael to the devastating truth, or attempt to outmaneuver a man whose every move seems 10 steps ahead. Each option is laced with landmines, and each path may lead to irreversible consequences, not only for himself but for the people he loves. The pressure is no longer external. It's psychological. Sonny is being dismantled emotionally, piece by piece, by a game he didn't even know he was playing. And the horror lies in the fact that this madness isn't coming from random street violence or rival crime families, it's coming from the strategic corrosion of his relationships, his image, and his purpose. The persona of Sonny Corinthos, once feared and respected, is being repackaged by Sidwell as a manipulator, a criminal who would sacrifice his own son's integrity to win. Whether it's true or not won't matter if everyone believes it. And Sonny is beginning to feel the pressure of that inevitability crushing down on him like a steel cage closing tighter each day. What's happening now is no longer just a storyline of corruption or custody. It's the slow-motion collapse of a man under the weight of manufactured guilt and real emotional loss. Sonny's very sense of control, something that has always defined him, is now slipping through his fingers like sand. Every conversation, every look from Michael, every lingering doubt in Carly's eyes, is a reminder that the walls are closing in and that he's being turned into a stranger in his own life. And worse, he has no idea how to stop it. The devastation is amplified by the haunting realization that this might be just the beginning. If Sidwell has orchestrated all of this, what else does he have in motion? Who else is being used as a pawn? What other truths have been corrupted into lies? Sonny is surrounded by shadows, and every step he takes toward clarity seems to be met with more confusion. More manipulation, more devastation. He is facing a mental unraveling, a point of no return, where his old tools, bravado, intimidation, charm, no longer serve him. He is, for the first time in a long time, powerless. This is the madness of control without clarity, of strength without direction, of love threatened by perception. Sonny is standing at the precipice of a personal disaster so profound that it could redefine not only his place in Port Charles, but his identity entirely. He's not just facing a threat to his empire, he's facing the threat of emotional extinction. The man who once stood unshaken by bullets, betrayals, and courtroom drama is now stumbling in the dark. Unsure of whether the next word he speaks will heal or destroy, unsure if the people he loves will stay or turn away, unsure if the man staring back at him in the mirror is still Sonny at all. What's coming isn't just a scandal, it's a reckoning. A collapse. A storm where truth becomes meaningless, and perception becomes execution. Unless Sonny finds a way to rip off the mask Sidwell has forced upon him and reclaim the narrative, he may lose everything, not to violence, not to prison, but to the most silent, most agonizing destruction of all, being misunderstood, unloved, and erased by those he gave everything to protect. That is the real catastrophe unfolding now, and it's only just begun.